Let's plant. Yeah.
Hello everyone, my name is Jack. You're watching episode 181 of Let's Plant. In the last episode, we did a lot of chopping. As you can see, there are a lot of Echeveria stumps on this part of the garden. And I've also removed their flower stalks and separated it from the main plant. And in case you didn't know, all of that is my way of propagating with large Echeveria cultivars. I have all of those stumps on this shelf, and I think that most of them would have rooted by now, but that's just a hunch.
A few weeks ago, I sold a couple more of the $100 packs. Then after that, I picked up this Fallen Big Red and gave it a reset. Then I took out all of the ones that I previously cut and prepared them for replanting. I was going to plant them in plastic pots, so this time I am preparing a more coarse soil mix. The plastic is going to retain way more water than the garden bed, so I need the soil to compensate. With the soil mix now prepared, I got right down to potting them all up. I need to leave them somewhere bright but still somewhat protected. I believe the shelf along the north fence would be perfect for this. And that's where they are all going.
You could also see that there's a tree right above me, right above all of these plants. The leaves are now golden and shifting towards red. It is actually currently, we're nearing the end of autumn here in Australia, and a couple of weeks from now it will be June, and that would be the official start of winter here in Australia. Now it's currently like 10 degrees Celsius outside, but it is not windy, so I can take it. But for the past few weeks it has been really cold. The temperature has never gone above 15 degrees, and it's only going to get lower from this point onwards. And for me, that means that I won't be able to work much on my Echeverias because, as you know, they tend to grow during the warmer seasons. They do not exactly do well in winter unless you give them, someplace warm, protected, like a grow tent. Yes, I do have a grow tent, but I'm not going to use that for now. It's still quite early to do anything with it, I think. And I say quite early because the stumps are still actually showing a bit of growth. Let me show you. If you look closely, there are buds on all of the stumps that I left here, and I only noticed them growing a few days ago, which means that overall the temperature is still not that low enough to prevent them from growing. Now I'm happy that this is happening right now because it gives them time to grow, to establish themselves before it gets really cold in winter. And it usually starts with them just growing a lot slower than usual, and eventually they would just stop growing altogether. It gets very noticeable when they get damaged during winter, like say frost, hail, or what have you. And during winter, when my Echeveria get damaged, say by fungal infestation, they are not able to recover from it because they are not actively growing at the time. So for winter, my main goal is to make sure that they do not stay wet for too long. Maybe give them a way to keep dry, like say, giving them enough airflow and ventilation. In a way, chopping off all of these heads gives a lot of ventilation all over the place because of course the canopy is now thinner, allowing air to just flow through everywhere. And now it leaves us with the undergrowth. As you can see, I have a lot of plants planted in the ground. It's mostly a bunch of ground cover plants such as the sedums, some of my sempervivums. I've got a lot of them spread all over this plot of land. And for now, I'm going to keep them this way. I would not be altering anything on this garden bed because again, a lot of these are echeveria and I do not want to disturb them while they sleep. But enough about that. Let's talk about the main topic of this video, which is whatever happened to my seedlings. It is a very long story, and to put it short, I basically neglected them. I believe a lot of them died, but thankfully my mom-in-law saved them and planted them in another planter, which I'm going to show you right now. So you are seeing what's left of them. They still got their labels with them. There's only a few representatives of each hybrid, but to be honest, this is fine because this saves us the trouble of having to narrow down from a few specimens. Because that's what making hybrids is all about. It's survival of the fittest. It's about picking the most hardy specimens from the bunch and using them to seed the next generation of plants. You would want the parents of the next generation of plants to be of a very strong stock. The other thing we were talking about in the last episode was what to do with this right-hand side of this section right here. And I think we're going with the idea of creating a mountain range inspired by the Sierra Madre mountain ranges. Now, the Sierra Madre mountain range is quite long, and I don't think this is enough space to do the whole thing justice. So I think I'll be taking more than just this little bit of space here and perhaps extend it all the way to the edge. So it's either I work on the mountain range on this side or right here on this side where all of the stumps are. At least I've already partially cleaned up the area. I'm considering removing all of these path stones, the stepping stones that you see around here forming the arc, and maybe I could just make that section completely landscaped. Maybe you're not supposed to step in there, and to be honest, we don't usually go there anyway. It's just plants, so we might as well reclaim that space. So we are now left with two options. Either we do it right here on the right hand side of the pergola or on the left hand side of the pergola. So the question is, right hand side or the left hand side? Let me know down in the comments. I have until the next spring to figure that out, and until then I would have to work on something else. I say I have until spring because the plants that I'm going to use there are echeverias and they tend to do well when it's warm. So transplanting them now while we're heading to winter is not a good idea. Instead, what I would want to do is to transform this part. I've always talked about making this section my aeonium section, and now that it is getting colder, all of my aeonium plants are turning green, which means that they are actively growing at the moment, and now is a perfect time to do all of the chops, the transplanting, and whatever you have to do when you're starting a new landscape. I haven't figured out a design for that area yet, so that is something that I would be thinking about over the next few days, and that's something we would be starting in the next episodes. So thank you for all of your suggestions in the previous videos. It really helps me with my thought process, and with your help, I think we would do really great for the next bits. So I'll see you in the next episode. I'm looking forward to read your comments. And if you don't want to miss out on the winter transformation of our garden or the aeonium section, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.